Target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids. Target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target.
It's the #1 song in the nation, and it has woke corporations panicking across the country. Hey gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, and we're going to see yet another example of how the mass boycott against all things woke keeps winning. A conservative rapper by the name of Forgiato has knocked off Taylor Swift from the #1 most downloaded song on iTunes with the song Boycott Target. The song, of course, is riding the wave of the massive boycott backlash against the department store Target for its ridiculous pride-themed clothing line for children. Target has suffered a massive loss in market valuation. They've lost a stunning $10 billion in 10 days. 10 bill in 10 days. Target's stock prices dropped by nearly 14%, but now things have gotten worse, since now the #1 song on iTunes is all about targeting them.
Yeah.
Digital shoppers. There's a cleanup on every aisle. Target is targeting your kids.
They put a target on my back, but they're targeting your kids. They don't even need to ask, cause you all know what it is. Yeah, that's why I keep a strap, and I'm always by my beds. This agenda gotta stop. Yeah, you know we gonna win when they target, yeah, they targeting. Target, yeah, they target kids.
There's a cleanup on every aisle. Target is targeting your kids. This agenda's got to stop. They know we're going to win. This is absolutely fantastic and a wonderful way of utilizing pop culture to further this massive boycott. It's so interesting here. It's a great lesson because what we're seeing here is it's an alternative narrative, especially with the advent of so-called Pride Month, right? So Pride Month comes with its own radically pro-LGBT narrative, but this song provides an alternative narrative through the utilization of social media and pop culture that has the potential of actually eclipsing the Pride Month narrative. Here's Shark Tank's Kevin O'Leary on the significance of this war of narratives for successful boycotts, especially with regard to the massive backlash against Bud Light.
Because the discussions that have arisen and the narrative that's arisen around Bud Light is probably a good lesson for every CEO in every sector of the economy. #1, it highlights the power of social media. This issue went viral in 48 hours.
Yeah.
And most often when an issue goes viral like that, it burns out in another 48 hours. But that's not what happened here. The story and narrative changed to sales. And so people that did not like the message, regardless of where you stand on these social issues or gender narrative or whatever, they took it out by basically boycotting the product immediately.
Yeah.
And switching preference to other brands that did not make them get involved in this issue.
And other viral videos go on social media, like Kid Rock shooting Bud Light cans and people dumping Bud Light and all. And so that just adds to it, right?
Well, it's because that narrative became very powerful and people piled on. Now, if you're trying to manage that and trying to learn something from it, and I certainly talk to all my CEOs about this because here we are talking about it in its second month.
Yeah.
This is a nightmare from hell for the brand.
It's true. A nightmare from hell for the brand. And what he had to say there was so key. What we have to remember here is that marketing is narrative. Marketing is narrative. Marketing tells a story. It's actually a technique known as story branding. The key here is that you're not so much selling a product, you're selling a story, and the product is the means by which the customer has personal access to the story. I remember reading an example. It was an autobiographical account of a fellow who went into a store just to look around. He was an American in Europe. And the store owner asked him if he liked cologne. And the guy said, sure. And the owner told him about a cologne that was particularly famous in that part of Europe. It was called something like Jack's Best. I forget exactly what it was called, but Jack's Best. And he told him that this guy named Jack had visited that part of Europe and found a cologne that he absolutely loved. And he brought it back with him to the States. And people kept asking him what that scent was. And he had to order a bunch of bottles from a manufacturer in Europe to give out as gifts to all his friends, especially at his inauguration. And the fellow at the shop said, "You mean John F. Kennedy?" And the store clerk bent down behind his desk, took out this beautiful box with the cologne in it, and laid it on the countertop in front of the guy. And the guy immediately said, "I'll buy it." Now, did you notice? He never even smelled the cologne. He never even smelled the cologne, but he just had to buy it because he was sold on a narrative. And the cologne was his personal access to that narrative. That's what O'Leary is getting at there. These boycotts are effectively destroying the story branding attempts by Target and Bud Light with a fundamentally different story. Instead of inclusion, these brands are actually targeting your kids and actively trying to brainwash them. And what's so amazing here is that this new narrative is creating a massive community across the nation that's finally standing up to these woke corporations. And gang, if that's you, if you've been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building the parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you have come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting. It's being widely recognized that grassroots boycotts against woke corporations promoting transgender ideology are becoming radically effective. Both Bud Light and Target have lost tens of billions of dollars in sales and market value, and together have become textbook cases of how not to do marketing. And what's so interesting here is that something really appears to have changed here. For years, companies have been pushing Pride Month with little economic retaliation. But something seems to have really turned the tide here. And I think the key to that tide turning, at least I believe, was how these companies started going after our kids, as is in the case of Target, and going after conservative rural areas, as is the case of Bud Light. It really does appear that the general public, but especially parents, are increasingly opposed to the idea of transgender ideology being pushed on their children while they're shopping. I mean, opinion polls overwhelmingly reveal that the majority of Americans do not support the gender ideology being pushed by woke corporations. And it seems that their wallets are now finally aligning with their values. It looks like the tide really has turned. A massive revolt against all things woke is rising, and corporations deciding to go woke are the ones that will have everything to lose. Hey gang, if you want to connect with more courageous patriots and start taking action and organizing, be sure to join my Telegram group. I post the latest breaking news I find interesting and chat with my favorite patriots around the country and even the world. Click the link in the description below and join the conversation today.